I remember the first day I started classes, and Inner City at that time was still on at the old building on Chester Avenue in Nairn. And I walked in and I sat down in my first class, and I knew immediately that was the place I needed to be.
I think that our programs aren't as sterile. They're so real life, and we're so real life, and we're able to take that. I don't know if our programs are so real life, but we take our real life, and it's such a good fit, right? We're able to fit into the programs.
The things that were shared with me is that it was a very supportive environment and a very close, you get this community feeling from the Inner City Social Work program. That was what was shared with me.
The primary strength of the program is its ability to be able to establish relations with folks, whether that's with students. It's extremely important to be able to establish relations with students that are, positive, constructive, that are supportive, and that move them towards success.
We know that there are people who, if they just had a little bit of opportunity, that those barriers that they've faced may be insurmountable or feel like they're insurmountable. So we want to have those folks have a place to come where the experiences that they've had are really being honored. And they can use that experience and use it to change systems and to counter some of the racism, sexism, homophobia, ageism, classism, those kinds of things that have really toxified our systems. So that was where this inner city social work came from, but it was really, and sometimes people don't get this piece, but it is a very challenging university level program.
How we deliver it, there's what I call the magic, is that we allow them more time, we put in more supports and services for them. So for instance, if we have courses that we know give students trouble, like say systematic inquiry or research methods, and people are afraid of those, we automatically put a tutor in there so that they don't have to go look for a tutor. There's tutoring sessions, they just need to attend them. And then, so they have those extra supports. We have a small classroom, so they have more time with the instructor as well.
So there are supports put in place to be able to, again, help them to build a stronger foundation for academic writing. We have a non-credit course that focuses on writing. We have a 3 credit hour course that builds on that. And then we have an additional 6 credit hour course that helps with research and writing at the same time.
We also have non-credit hour courses that kind of introduce people to ideas of psychology and sociology and anthropology, and especially in Indigenous studies, because this program really brings, we start right from the beginning with knowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory. This is the homeland of the Métis people, and this isn't just lip service, this is lived experience. So we have elders, and we build that in right from the beginning.
What we're going to do is start with a smudge, of course. That's very important as part of our way of preparing ourselves, body, mind, spirit, and emotions for this day of making your drums and we have to do it in a good way and prepare ourselves for that. So we're going to take the smudge around and so we always smudge before we have any kind of teachings. That's our traditional way of doing things. The smudge is a very important part of any ceremony. We're smudging with sage, which is woman's medicine. And when we smudge, we are praying to the medicine that was given to us by our Creator and the Earth Mother. And so to smudge, we smudge our minds so it's open for teachings and learning today. We smudge our eyes so that we see good and we're surrounded by beautiful women today. We smudge our ears so our ears are open and listen to the teachings. We smudge our mouth so that when we speak our truth, and as we know it, we smudge our hearts so that our hearts are open and know that we are all sisters coming together to make a drum, and we thank Creator for everything. Regret Shem.
I remember Vern Morissette as one of my teachers, and I remember him saying that Indigenous ways of being, knowing, and doing are always put at the periphery of everything, that they're not integrated, they're not part of the beginning of it, so that if something gets tossed out because of lack of resources, lack of time, lack of energy, guess what it's going to be? It's going to be the smudge, the circle, the whatever, because it's not something that's given the same importance as academic content. When you create culturally relevant, culturally sensitive, culturally aware services, cultural competence in the largest and most broad sense, then you create that for all cultures. Because when you create and you're aware and you hold that sacred, you hold it sacred for everyone. It just transcends. And so then you become culturally competent for all people. And that's been my experience. So it's well worth the investment, I think. But it's a lot of work.
It really carried me through my 4 years as a student. You know, being able to go and smudge whenever I needed it, to go and talk to, you know, an elder whenever I need it, to hear the sound of a drum whenever I need it. That is spirit, and you don't get that anywhere else. And that's why this program is amazing.
I went through a rigorous process in order to get into the program. Once admitted, I must say, as I walked into this faculty, I started to cry. I cried because of my self-worth as an Indigenous man, going into an institution that I felt unworthy because due to my primal upbringing in the education system was very unhealthy, very negative, and wasn't a great sense of growing and fostering education to be something positive.
When I was a student there, I know in the early days of being in that campus, there was this beautiful Indigenous man walking toward me, and you know, and as an Indigenous people, you acknowledge each other. You nod, you look to see whether it's someone you know, and if you do, you stop, and if it isn't, you know, you acknowledge anyway. And, you know, and so I walked by him, we nodded at each other, kind of looked familiar, but we weren't sure if we knew each other. And then I ran into him again on campus, and I actually stopped to ask him if he was a student there, and he was an instructor. And that, to me, was really interesting and blew a lot of biases that I had internalized out of the water, because I'd not had ever a male Indigenous instructor in my life.
To say that there's one place at the university that you can go if you're Indigenous and it's going to represent all of you, I think is a myth, and it's a disservice. I think we all have a responsibility to create a safe place, to create a place of relationship building, and to create a place that promotes the circle way of life for all peoples. And I think that saying, oh, well, you know, I've checked with, you know, that place, and I have somebody from over there that came and was on a, you know, on a group or something like that, to me just doesn't cut it. You need to do the work again to create a place that's going to represent the people in your faculty, and I'm talking about staff. I'm talking about the students as well, and your alumni.
I had a baby in my second year, and I couldn't have asked for any more support than I did. I brought my daughter to school with me in the bucket, and I know that it's the same. It's still the same now. They bent over backwards. Like, I had my last exam, I think it was like July 3rd. I had her July 7th. So like I made sure I timed that perfectly. So.
What I really like about this program is that it validates people who've been through horrific, traumatic, historic situations, and it's actually a strength, and it's something to be validated, and I feel grateful for that, because it really enriched my own delivery of programming.
We understand that the literature that students are sometimes exposed to can create tensions for them, can be triggers for them. And so again, what we have built into the program are personal counseling supports.
You know, we come there and we've had a lot of life experiences, not many of them always positive. In fact, many of them negative, right? And it was a place where as you grew mentally, you also grew emotionally, because you unpacked a lot of that baggage through that process as well. And they had great counselors on staff there. Through the courses, you would start to understand. You know, I remember my favorite courses: Intro to Psychology, Intro to Sociology, Feminist Perspectives. I was really able to unpack a lot of history and a lot of emotional baggage for me through that journey, by gaining an understanding of why I was in my situation at that time in my life. It started to totally make sense.
There's times that you would want to quit in regards to being a student, but just the energy of this place makes you feel safe. You're part of a village, a family.
They made sure that I was able to finish this program. Like, if it wasn't for this program, I don't know where I'd be.
I think there has to be some value on what it is that we do as a program to create success for students who under normal circumstances don't have access to university. We've been here a long time. We've been in existence since 1981. You know, a foundation had already been established prior to my arrival and prior to most of us who work here now. I think that understanding that there are some people in our society who go without, who don't have the same opportunity, and for us then to be able to encourage that and to be able to support that through our actions, through our attitude, through the way in which we engage with people. The program and its selection process, I think, is designed that way to allow us to establish relations with people who have not always had a positive experience in relation to education or within the system of education. And so we try to create a comfort zone for folks that you are as entitled to be here as anybody else.
I have my own ideas about what I think is helpful, but I need to know that what I think is verified by the people that I'm serving and that I'm working with. And sometimes they come up with many other ideas that I've now put into orientation and other parts of the selection process. So they're also informing me. They're also, so you have to be open to that, open to asking the question about, are we doing a good job, and what kind of things do we need to change? And being open to finding the resources to do that.
It takes money to operate programs. But if you do it with the mentality of we want the highest number of graduates at the least cost, then you're not investing yourself and you're not investing in the students.
Forget about the problems. We know about the problems. Let's build off the strengths. And that's one of the values, without saying it loudly within these structures, is that we look for the strength in you. We look and celebrate that.
This campus is surrounded by, that culture and that spirit of loving compassion. And as I said before, you feel it as soon as you walk in those doors. And that spirit that I talk about is what carries you throughout the 4 years of being a student here at Inner City.
All those people who made huge impact on my life, and it could have been just saying hi to me one day when I was having a really bad day, that, they just, and it's not only me, everybody I know, this program made a difference for everybody.
And if you can peel it all away, if there's one word, I think there would be 2 words. It would be acceptance and belonging. And that's what we try and create for other people.